Hi, everybody. Welcome to our patron requested episode. Today we'll be talking about the Beastie Boys' project, Paul's Boutique, as per DJ Black Hurricane's request. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend Bonnie.
And today we'll be going through every single song, track by track. Well, at least the first half of the album in this video.
Yeah, we won't miss a single one.
Of the Beastie Boys. Classic in After the Fact album, because I think it wasn't such a classic perceived at first. Anyway, of their album, Paul's Boutique. Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. That's what we're talking about. Full album review.
Paul's Boutique.
Part 1. Woo! Ready to go?
Beastie
we are
Boys.
Ready to go.
That's right,
This
folks.
is the Classic West podcast. This is what we do over here.
Sure is.
We talk.
We
Anyway,
do talk.
so we are super excited to be here today. We're going to get into it real soon. We just like to invite all of your comments in the beginning because it's like a conversation, and then we'll say stuff, and then you'll want to say stuff, and then you can, and then we'll answer you, and we'll have chit-chats.
And then it'll just be nonstop stuff all over the place.
All over the place. And just to show how much we care, we like to shine light on our favorite comment of last week's video. Last week, what project did we talk about?
Well, we did last week Crumpet Company Flow's Fun Crusher Plus.
And on that, we got a massive comment from the same dude who requested this very album review.
Well, son of a gun, would you look at that?
Mr. DJ Black Hurricane was one of several. Now,
Nice.
I don't say this to bring negative anything. This is amazing to me. I look forward to this stuff. It's just great. So y'all can hit pause and read the whole thing because I'm not going to do that as much anymore, the whole thing. But Legends is one of my favorite scratching sessions ever in hip-hop. At the end of LP's verse, Mr. Lay cuts actually inspired me to scratch myself specifically because of this song. It's because, you know, what he's been doing on Instagram for years. You should check him out. He's very fun to follow on Instagram.
Yep.
But for real, like, just hearing something like that to me is super cool. Like, just adds more almost value or interest into it, just to see how an album or a song or a particular thing impacts somebody else so substantially. It's very cool to me. Anyway, I enjoy these comments a lot, so I'm hoping that he promises like essays on this particular video series. So yeah, exciting. I know I sound the way I sound, but that's because I had a cold lately, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Before we jump up into it, special thanks in advance to the patrons. There's Milk Dempsey, Chris Browder, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. Shout them out while you're watching, because, yo, they're the important people.
Yep.
And, Bonnie, what project did DJ Black Hurricane want us to be talking about today?
Well, once more, we are doing Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, which came out, or was released, July 25th, 1989. So it's a nice, throwback one. It's good.
That's true. Which is also really cool. This is the part of the show that we would like to contextualize our familiarity with the particular artist that we are talking about. In this case, is the Beastie Boys. It is worth mentioning that we did do License to Ill way back when we were like much younger reviewers a couple of years ago.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure the like to dislike ratio is not as high as I would like it to be, but it did.
If you want, you can go and like it if you didn't already. Huh?
But you could give it a watch. It would show like a stark contrast in terms of how far we've come, I suppose. Because lots of people are like, this album is seminal and great. Y'all don't get it. And I'm like, no, we didn't get it.
Which is fair.
It's probably true. I don't watch the old ones because I'm pretty sure they're embarrassing. But either way, it would probably be a cool video if you did care about the Beastie Boys, just letting you know. But for me, it's like they're Jewish. I'm Jewish. That was cool right away. But like, I've always thought it was just fascinating that right there in like 1985 or whatever, right around when License to Ill comes to be, like that these three Jews end up being such a integral part to like the beginning of hip hop in the way that it was.
Who'da thunk?
Like, it really is, if you like think about it, just this random anomalous fact that's like thrown into it, you know? And I've been reading up a whole bunch of stuff just because I was super curious, like on the Beastie Boys and in general, because I don't know. But like, they seem to have made Paul's Boutique just as like a context thing, as almost like a stark contrast to License to Ill. They were particularly unhappy of how the people that like they were trying to mock with Fight for Your Right to Party were like kind of championing the songs, so they like missed the point of the situation. Like they were making fun of these jockey douchey types, and that's just kind of went in a way they didn't like. I got the feeling from what I've learned that they weren't necessarily thrilled with Rick Rubin, to the point where it's rumored, or it's said that in various publications, according to what I found on Reddit, that that Rick Rubin wanted to kick Mike D out of the group because he was a little too geeky and not quite the image. They pressured them to kick out the drummer lady, although she was kind of happy to not be necessarily on stage with some of these songs that they ended up producing. But overall, they weren't thrilled with, I guess, the image and pressure and everything. Like, I read this interview where once they like showed up at one of the early shows, they got a bunch of Puma sweatsuits, and they felt so dumb and silly like performing in it. And like, so then with the Paul's Boutique, they were like almost had broken up as a group because of their just disinterest in everything. And again, I'm just giving like my short, what I'm remembering in this moment version. And then they linked up with the Dust Brothers, and the Dust Brothers had basically composed most of the music for this project to independently release, like as an instrumental tape, and the Beastie Boys seem to have convinced them to turn this into what we now have as Paul's Boutique. But yeah, as far as my familiarity with them goes, it's like I knew who they were in terms of a lot of the classic songs. Like, white people like the Beastie Boys, so you hear a lot of classic Beastie Boys songs at white people events. As in, like, you couldn't go anywhere without Intergalactic. Like, everybody I know anywhere.
Well, anybody that also like especially if you grew up in like the 90s, and like that was like your heyday and stuff like that, and like that's when like the or the 80s and the 90s, like if you're maybe like in your late 30s, early 40s, or whatever it is, then I think that's like if you're having like a wedding or a party or like a work event, I feel like
somehow
it would definitely
Beastie Boys is safe wedding music. But like, for real, everybody likes Intergalactic. I mean, even because like even the people who don't like hip hop, because I find that there's this list of hip hop tracks that people who don't like hip hop love and know all the words to, and Intergalactic is absolutely on that list. You go find people who are like, oh, I fucking hate hip hop. Play them Gangster's Paradise, Intergalactic, a couple of others, and they're absolutely fucking start spitting. And they'll sound good. They'll have flow. And you'll be like, I thought you don't like rap. Oh, I don't like rap. It's just this song, Dangerous Minds. It's the Beastie Boys. It's not the same thing. I'm like, whatever. Fuck out of here. But what I thought was just interesting was, like, I didn't really know their cultural significance or their history or anything, really. Even when we did License to Ill, I didn't really understand a lot of it. But most importantly, what I didn't understand, and I guess DJ Black Hurricane, through his endless comments, has helped, I guess, change my perception on, is the production side of the samples and how brilliantly the sounds were put together. So all of that's completely lost on the License to Ill review, per se. But in this case, like, I went as far as to actually watch a video breaking down the samples used on this project before going into it. Don't expect like crazy insight. It's just like listening to it all put together. So like hearing them rap over that like series of instrumental was just so fascinating. But like I knew Check It Out, like to check that song because it dropped when I was in high school. I know like their hits. Everybody knows their hits. Yep. What about you?
Well, like, I mean, I've known them since like I was in elementary school. I don't remember like what age, maybe like I feel like grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, like somewhere like in that range. Like I just remember, I feel like I probably mentioned this exact same story on License to Ill. I feel like it was like all the boys just played like girls, and like. So, like, that's the song that I remember the most. But I definitely remember one of the songs on this album, which we'll get to. But, yeah, I mean, they've always sort of been featured. And, again, I have 2 older sisters that are, like, 10 and 12 years older than me. So this was their heyday. This was who they, grew up listening to. They were in high school. Like around the time that like these guys were popping, and well, not popping, but like their extended career, was like happening, but at that time especially, and they were young. And like I think that, at least one of my sisters, I'm pretty sure, went and continued to go to like their concerts and stuff for a few years. So I think that's kind of cool. So like that's kind of why I have like a general sort of like knowledge of like their hits at the very least, because I would hear them here and there, and my sister listens to like kind of one of the how would you describe the buzz like radio stations.
Yeah, they would get play on alternative rock radio stations. I think
alt rock. There you go.
That's a really good point. That's a part of how I know all their hits, is because I would drive around and listen to that very same radio station, and they would play a fuck ton of Beastie Boys hits.
Yeah, so definitely and they still do, because every time I'm in the car and my sister puts on the buzz, this radio station that we get
to
here.
To be fair, it's trash now.
Yeah, I mean it's just like
alt
it's
rock
all
is
just like 90s music now at this point.
In a very big simplification, alt rock in the modern era has a lot of electronic components to it, where it's a weird genre. Hip hop, it turns out, is not dying.
So it's interesting that the Beastie Boys fit with that.
Well, they started as like a punk band, though, right?
Like so that it seems like people have a hard time placing them in one genre, because they sound like a white guy. Like they sound very much like a white guy.
I'm gonna say that after this, I don't know. Like I know that they have a very hip hop sound on a lot of their stuff. It was really like Licensed to Ill had a lot of heavy metal or sounds put into it. This album has some stuff, but like this album's all over, right?
Yeah.
And then like, I mean, Intergalactic's weird and spacey, but I think it's just that they have this cult status amongst people my age, and it just worked. Like I don't know. It's stuff that I haven't looked a lot into, but I'm sure y'all watching this have way bigger and more thorough opinions on this kind of subject. So you can let us know in the comments what you think, who they were actually targeting and whatnot. But I definitely know that all white people I know of my age and older, up until a point, really like the same like 15
Not
Beastie
that we're
Boys
like
songs.
pigeonholing anybody like into like this age range.
I'm just
going to like the
applying
Beastie
the
Boys,
typical generalizations that make these conversations possible, and with the common assumption that it doesn't apply to every individual, because I just assume that's how it works. Either way, I love the cover because I believe that's the actual Paul's Boutique.
It is,
and it's just fucking
on
simple.
Ludlow Street in Manhattan.
And
so
it's just fucking blunt and to the point, and I almost like the fact that there's not even like a Beastie Boys anything about them on it. Like it's just stripped back. It's just this photograph of Paul's Boutique.
I like that because it's like setting a scene. It's showing you, because you kind of get like a visual of where these guys are from. Like here's a block, like maybe this is where we go to Paul's Boutique like to chill and hang out and like get our stuff, whatever, or it's just like we walk by it every day or something. It's obviously relevant to them. I'm not sure like how it's relevant to them, but it's obviously a part of something significant in their life.
I think they got hooked up or whatever from them at some point. I'm not really sure again. But
let us know if you know, please.
I mean, I know it's on the wiki page, so we can just check that, and then we'll let you know and not be lazy. But I love the fact that they shouted out something like that, because it's like taking your platform and doing something community based. Like it's really literally advertising something in the community. So I thought that was pretty dope. Y'all can let me know what you think about that as well. I like the title because it's ambiguous as fuck, and I never really understood it until I looked at this project at all. Anyway, we can get into it. There's a bunch of tracks. We're going to treat the last track, which is like 9 songs on Spotify.
As one.
But like it's one, as far as I understand, it's a real thing. So we'll establish that right away. So we're going to do that 2 parts. We're going to split it halfway through. And in the meantime, to all the girls, it's apparently a fictional store. It's not a real store. But the Lee Sportswear is a real store. I think.
Son of a gun. There you go.
Anyway, that's the best I could do with as far as I was willing to Google at this point in time. But let's get the elephant out of the room on this track. You hit play, and you're like, where the fuck's the song?
Yep.
I don't know if that was on the vinyl or whatever, but it looks like from like a mixing point of view, they started it at 0 and then super fucking slowly like increased the volume.
Yep.
to the point where you're like, what the fuck? And then you crank your volume all the way up to try to hear what the fuck's happening, and then it just gets louder and louder and louder. You're like, ah, fuck. And then you have to like turn it all the way back down. And I'm like, that sounds like some shit you do when you're really high and you're trying to fuck with stoners in the 80s. Because they would do shit like that.
Okay.
They actually would make, like, for stoner comedy albums and stuff, like National Lampoon or somebody like that did this, where they would record side A, and then they would have, like, on the second side, a side B and C, and depending on where you put the needle, it would play either one, so that when you got to side B and you flipped it and you would call up your friends and ask them about the record, half the people would have heard one version, half the people would have heard the other. Everyone was stoned and tripping out like, what the fuck? And so yeah, anyway, it just kind of reminded me of that.
Okay.
And then it just has the samples playing through. It's really like groovy, and you just have, I think, MCA, it might be. It's just like, yeah, it's all the Brooklyn girls, it's all the French girls, and he just like fucking says that, and just this shout out kind of going through, and it's just kind of goofy, right? Just all these different kinds of girls, the topless dancers, and then he ends it with the stewardesses flying around the world, and it's just like this aloof introduction to this album.
That's
where
a good
you're
word
like,
for it.
and it's like this calm, jazzy vibe.
Yep.
I think it's sampling Idris Muhammad's, what's it called? Lauren's Dance. And you can hear that like in the background, that doo-doo. Anyway.
Like the
I think it's like the actual lead is the piano-y part is the sample.
Interesting.
I might be wrong. Y'all can correct anything I get wrong. I'm trying here. I'm trying to learn how to put this together. But it's fascinating because at least because you know what's interesting? We were talking about just on the Brand Nubian review. The production was sounded so like whatever. This album came out a year before the Brand Nubian review. And let's be real. The production on this project is like in a league of its own. I'm not trying to diss the production on Brand Nubian. That worked for the sound it's going for.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, let's say, pushing like a frontier into like fucking weird ass territory where you could go back to that shit like 20, 30 years later and be like, that was fucking interesting. I'm gonna have to say that Paul's Boutique had some production work here that was quite fucking fascinating as we go through the project. And even just that choice of having it start with silence and then build up into something like, again, I just picture stoners tripping the fuck out and getting fucked with the volume. Just to get this like goofy nothing intro that's just so like calm and casual, almost like mocking like those jazzy elevator music to all the whatevers, I'm so suave and whatnot. And it's like he just doesn't sound suave, he sounds goofy. I like it. I thought it was a fantastic little introduction here. It's smooth. It's a 4.25 on 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's only a minute 29. It's nice. It's slow. Like you said, it's jazzy. And it's just to all the girls around the world, from different countries, different nationalities, different types of girls that maybe they encountered, such as stewardesses and topless dancers. So it's nice. I mean, I have no complaints about it. He's dedicating this album to all the ladies. And I'm okay with that. I gave it a 4.75. I liked it. I like the escalating volume, or the in like actual music terms, it's like, what is it, I
remember
accento or something. I don't know. It was something in Italian. Where the music rises. If you're a music person like who actually knows what the hell you're talking about,
we can Google these things.
Yeah, crescendo or something. I don't know. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Anyways, 4.75. I like it.
Awesome. The next track on the album seems to be to
Shake
follow
your rump.
up the message to all the ladies.
Yep.
Okay, so it's crescendo because again,
see,
Google's a real
I knew
thing.
what I was talking about.
We didn't need you. We could have Googled that easy peasy, right? Yeah. Can we just stop here for a quick second?
We can.
I'd like to just run through a little list here.
Go ahead.
These are all sorts of shit. So in the drum samples, we have Alfonso Mouzan's 1974 song Funky Snakefoot. Then there's Harvey Scales' 1979 song Dancing Room Only. This is all courtesy of Genius. So if something's wrong, that Genius guy.
Blame it on them.
Then there's Louis Bellson, Shelley Main's Willie Bobo, and Paul Humphrey's song Super Mellow from 1975. The drum fill sample heard at the end of the first verse is taken from Thin Lizzy's 1976 song Johnny the Fox Meets Jimmy the Weed. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 songs that comprise the different drum samples that they put together, all from. And if you really listen to
which is kind of crazy, and because it doesn't sound.
But you gotta like understand, like, and I've never really done this much. Maybe you could say that this long into a hip hop review channel, I should have cared more about samples. I'm a lyrics guy, but like just listening to like these songs individually, and then hearing the beat put together after was such an ethereal experience, right? Because like. When you really now when I'm picturing this crates thing, right, where you're like going through it, it's like you're hearing some obscure ass song in a genre you probably don't even listen to, and you're hearing some fucking sound, and you're like, oh, that drum right there, that's it, and it's gonna mix with this other shit and this other shit, and it's just also different.
It's very well done.
Then there's the instrument samples, right? So we already got 4 things. We got the funky guitar riff is Ronnie Lewis's 1975 song Tell Me Something Good. I'm probably not going to do this for every single song, although maybe I should, but there's like entire YouTube videos that could just give it way more justice. I'm just trying to illustrate the point. The funky bass sample comes from, and that's how they're describing it. I'm shit with that stuff. Ronnie Law's 1975 song Yo Yo. The other guitar riff song comes from Ro Royce's 1976 song Born to Love You. The low grinding song can be heard after each verse was taken from Rolls Royce's song 6 O'Clock Let's Rock. So 2 separate tracks on that Rolls Royce album got used here. It's a bunch more. Then there's a bunch of vocal samples that get like cut into it. So like I was reading this Hip Hop America book by Nelson George, that's who it's by. And it's fucking cool because he was talking about shit like how this funky 4+1s, that's the joint, was used. So I'm hearing it in this other video. I'm realizing this shit's used all over. Like when you start like seeing the sample sources, you're like, no shit. And like all these other beats that use all these particularly like popularized samples all over at the same time. And it was like unlocking this Pandora's fucking box of like stimuli and under like just seeing how much is taken from these records and whatnot. Anyway, so I heard the 4+1, that's the joint shit. That's a vocal sample. You can tell when they go, that's the joint. That's that one. They also have the Shake Ya Rump from the African Bambaataa and James Brown song Unity Part 2.
I feel like
because
that's like
coming.
like so like significant. Like I like that's what I remember.
Then there's a Just Like This that you can hear. That's a DJ scratch break taken from the B-Boys 1983 song Rock the House. The Hoo Ha Got 'Em All in Check, which I didn't even realize was a sample. I mean, I knew like, but I mean, I probably did because I think we did that Busta Rhymes sample.
I think
and
so.
I probably had the same epiphany, but I never really heard the Sugar Hill Gang's Eighth Wonder or whatever. I never like heard the original before, and then I did, and I was like, no shit. And then Busta Rhymes made it like super popular. And there's all of these things. There's like what, like more than 10 separate sources that like were put together by Dust Brothers. I mean, maybe the Beastie Boys is involved also. I don't really know how much, but like there's just so much that went into this instrumental that creates such a diverse and alive experience as like you're going through it and you're listening to this track that like, I don't know, like 7, 8 listens later, you're still like, shake your rump. You just want to keep listening to it again because it's cool. But the other side is, man, the Beastie Boys are weird ass rhymers at this point. Like, I get it, it's the 80s, it's in that like goofier shit, but like I don't have that much to even comment on their bars except that I remember one time I asked like when people were like going back and forth, and then apparently the Beastie Boys have just been like back and forth on each other the whole way through, so that's just always been part of it. But like, I mean, it's like now rock a house party at the drop of a hat, not beat a biter down with an aluminum bat. A lot of people, they be judging us to hear us ride the mic, they be staring at the radio, staying up all night. And I'm like, all right, it's pretty okay braggadocious hip-hop. Like, it's not stellar or amazing, but just because the words aren't necessarily stellar or amazing, and I'm not saying they're bad, I'm saying that compared to, like, we just did Company Flow, right? Like, just...
Yeah.
So, like, but the delivery is so on point. It's so tight, like, nah, I rock a house part. And just, like, the way they accentuate and the way they just play on timing and stuff. Everything just syncs all perfectly.
Yep.
I cannot undersell enough. Like, it's just so great, you know? Like, how well put together. I feel like you haven't even talked at all in this.
Yeah, that's true. You can finish up, though.
I mean, you should talk. And then I'll finish up.
Okay. Like, this is a song that I know. This is a song that, like, I feel like I've known for a long time. I don't know when I first heard it, but I just know that I know this song. And, like, so I was, you know, excited to, like, listen to it. It's been a long time. It definitely has, like, that, you know, Beastie Boys classic sound to it, like, right away. Or maybe it's the Dust Brothers. I don't know if it, or just the combination of both of them, but, like, it just works. And it sounds like nothing else. And it's always so, like, nostalgic to listen to that. And I think that that's, like, it's just fun. Like, I just enjoy listening to it. And, like, the beat and, like the production is great on this song. So well made. I love, like, the drumming and how it's all mixed in, like that you touched on. I really enjoyed that. I do, you know, I'm a drummer in my soul. You know, in my, like, 3 drumming classes I took, like, you know, anyways, like, you know, it's always what I wanted to do. So it's really good, and it gets your head going. And, like, there's cheering, like, at the end mixed in. It's just, like, all these different things. And I didn't know that, like, the shake your rump part was from a James Brown and Africa Bambaataa, like, song. So I was like, wow. I'm like, that's James Brown. There he is again. He's always, you know, representing. I love it. You know, so I think that's great. And, like, the rapping, you know, like you said, it's basically about them being sick on the mic. You know, that they're the best, and, you know, here we are, we're going to hear the best, and that's what this is going to be. And for me, I think that this one stands the test of time. Like, it still sounds like a classic, like 80s. It definitely, like, sounds like where it's placed, like where it was made, but it definitely works. It still is, like, fun to listen to today. It doesn't, you know, get boring. It's just interesting to listen to. It's, you know, it's, you know, a beautiful piece of art. I think this is great. This is definitely a classic. This is a 5 on 5 for me.
So yeah, I mean, lyrically, I know I'm not, like, saying I'm the most impressed. It's just, it's so all over the place and airy. It's just, it sounds like if you were at a live show and they were doing their thing, though, it would also be, like, a wonderful time.
So sick.
It's just, like, nothing wrong with my leg, I'm just a b-boy limping. Got arrested at the Mardi Gras for jumping on a float. My man MCA's got a beard like a billy goat, because at the time he had a beard that was kind of like a billy goat's. And then, ooh, is my disco call, MCA, I'm getting rope, y'all. And it's just like, it just kind of feels like they're just popping off and finishing each other's thoughts in this, like, seamless clusterfuck. And I really enjoy that, you know? I like when they're like, Mike D, with your bad self running things, what's up? With your bad breath, onion rings. And that's how they start the second verse, telling Mike D his breath stinks. And then he's like, well, I'm back from the dead, chilling at the beach and down at Club Med. And then they just keep going.
And you're like, well, okay, that makes sense then.
And then suckers be saying they can take out Adam Harowitz, Hurricane, you got clout. And I like that, because they shout out the DJs, bringing in a punch. And then I learned that clout actually just means a heavy fucking hit.
Yep.
As much as it means all the shit that rappers talk about in their clout chasing. But I guess clout chasing could also be like, you're looking to get smacked in the face. That could also be a literal definition of clout chasing.
I suppose so, yeah.
Anyway, I like when it's just fun. Like, rope-a-dope dookies all around the neck. Hoo-ha, got them all in check. Running from the law, the press, and the parents. Is your name Michael Diamond? No, my name's Clarence. Because he's running from the law, so he's not admitting who he is now. Mm-hmm. And it's just goofy, and it's just, they have dookies around their neck. Like, I understand this is, like, they're super wild, loud, like, they're having a bunch. I mean, we're gonna, in a couple of tracks, talk about some of their wild activities. I love the music video. It's got the fishbowl lens. Their lips
them,
are
like,
so cherry.
Around. It's fun.
They look like they have cherry lipstick on for how red their fucking lips are. Like, I mean, they just noticed that they're so like glossy, and they're just so goofy. They make me feel not goofy for how goofy they look, and I appreciate that. Like, that beard like a billy goat is not the most flattering beard in the world. In my opinion, it's not my favorite style.
Yeah, the music video is interesting. It's just them like goofing around, having a good time.
It looks like they smoked a bunch of bats right off camera and then just fucking had a bunch of fun.
Yep.
And I think it looks like the video did look really fun.
And like you can see both cameras like in it, or you can see not both, but you can see always like the other camera, and like, you know, like they'll be like still talking to like one camera, like two of the guys, and one will be talking to like the other camera, and so like you're kind of seeing like what they're both doing at the same time. So it's kind of fun to kind of feel like you're there with them, kind of. I think that's kind of like the feeling that the music video gives.
Also, it's such a classic visual effect. I believe it was popularized by them. I don't know if it was. I believe it was. I know when Eminem did the Berserk video, he was trying to call back to the fishbowl Beastie Boys style, but I just think it looks like a goofy, like, my mom would feel nostalgia vibes watching that video. Anyway, I gave it a 4.5. I thought it was a fantastically fun song to listen to. The beat is just absolutely masterful. You may be going, why is it not a 5? There's the part of me that goes, I don't know that I would listen to this every day, and like that emotional connection, you know, I'm not shaking my rumpa to this. I'd be standing at the wall at the show watching girls shake their rumpa to this. I'd be like doing that I mean, I could see how rumpa shaking would take place. Anyway, it's a great fun jam. Next up though, we're gonna have a little bit of story as we talk about Johnny Ryall. I feel like you could say almost the exact same thing about how they put their lyrics together in this track, about how kind of all over and random it feels, but because it's strung together around this story of Johnny Ryall,
it's Ryall,
it comes off like really fun and focused, even though it's basically they did the same thing but told a story this time. What do you think about this one?
This one's really fun. It kind of starts off with like this cool breeze sound, so I like that. You know, I like when there's always like nature included or whatever. So this is about a guy named Johnny Ryall, who is a homeless guy that hangs out where like these guys live, and he's like the king of the homeless, and he was a rockabilly star, and he has those like high-end labels, but they're old and they're maybe secondhand or like tattered or stolen or whatever. You don't know where they kind of came from, but he still kind of like has these like fancy items even though he's like a homeless guy. And they kind of mention that he may have been the original writer of Blue Suede Shoes and like things like that. Like he was maybe like a somebody, but like way back in the day. But now he's kind of like a washed up, you know, homeless guy. So that's pretty much what's like the story is about with this one. But it's like, it's just so like entertaining, and like the way that they, you know, it's, you know, classic, like it's what they're very good at doing, is like the way that they can like bounce off of each other very quickly, and it's just like one line, and it's like, you know, they're basically like ending each other's sentences, and I think that that's really cool. That's so like tight and like, well, they're just great at what they do. So for me, it's fun, it's good mixing, it's an original topic, that's for sure. I give this one a 4.5 on 5.
So yeah, what's fun is that it's like a real homeless dude and they made a fictional story, and apparently Mike D pissed off Russell Simmons when he offered his golden Def Jam Records windbreaker to this vagrant, and then basically Simmons thought this was a bad look for the brand and the building to have this bum wearing a Def Jam fucking jacket outside. So that was just a fun anecdote about the real Johnny Ryall. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just goofy fun, and it's got like this another crazy mix of stuff from like Pink Floyd, Gene Knight. They sample Curtis Blow, Paul McCartney, whole bunch of shit gets like put into putting.
There's definitely
these
a
tracks
lot of
together.
Beatles stuff.
And I think that's just really incredible. And like you can check on Genius, they have like a full list. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 different things got put into the creation of this particular track. And just from like the sample point of view. But yeah, it's just goofy fun. It has like your head bopping. And like what I like about this project is that as much as I said I'd be posted on the wall watching the girl shake the rumpa, you almost can't help it. It's infectious. You feel yourself start moving, and you don't want to sit still listening to this. But it's also like, it's just, you almost know the Johnny Ryall of your neighborhood as you listen to this track. And I kind of like the super universality of it, right? Like, I know people with the fresh Gucci watch today. That brand didn't get timeless. Or Ed Koch, I think, is still around too. No, I may be wrong.
Maybe.
Oh no, that's the mayor. I'm sorry, I got confused for a second.
I was like, I don't really know who
That's
that is.
But I like that line too because it brings up a little bit. Oh, I remember that now. I did look into that. So he's even more over than my mayor, Ed Koch, because at that point the dude was losing in the polls and about to get elected out. And so that line was a politically relevant point, and pointing at like the dated out of like not being connected nature of this bum as well with his stuff. That was really clever, actually. Washing windows in the Bowery at 3:45 because he ain't going to work on Maggie's farm no more. That's another relevant lyric that I don't really understand, but I looked into it and it was like somebody's like, anyway, it fits on the idea of kind of hurting yourself to get away from doing that mundane work, like
Right.
Living on borrowed time and borrowed money, sleeping on the street, there ain't a damn thing funny with the hand-me-down food and the hand-me-down clothes, a rockabilly past which nobody knows. And I guess it's just an interesting point there too, because it almost sounds like in the real life version, the Beastie Boys stopped and like talked to the dude and like got to know his actual life and story. Not just, I mean, if Mike D's offering a jacket, it's not just random, you know? And so it makes you wonder like how many people in the streets have a background that is just like, I used to be a music star, but then bloom, bloom, bloom,
But like you hear about these kinds of things that, you know, like that these homeless guys, you know, when you find out maybe more about them and like, you know, sit down and talk with a lot of them, you know, they absolutely all had like these, you know, lives before they were homeless people. I mean, maybe some of them, you know, they've been on and off of the street or, you know, whatever their story is. And maybe it's just been like a lifelong struggle for them. But some of them, you know, they definitely, you know, had their heyday. So just like, you know, anybody else, I guess.
And yeah, I like the line, he's better off drinking than smoking the rocks, and it shows they have their anti-crack sentiment going on.
Yeah, and like this was when it was,
and so
happening.
pointing out, like, you know, it's better he's doing that than the next thing. He drinks where he lies, he's covered with flies, he's got the hand-me-down Pumas and the tie-dyes, and, you know, it flows from there. I don't know that there's a whole lot more to break down, except for in the third verse. Donald Trump and Donald Tramp living in the men's shelter. And I was like, that's an interesting, like, lyric to hear in 2020 when the dude's president and shit, right? Because Donald Trump was brought up a lot back in the day. Anyway.
Especially, like, you know, from, like, New York point of view, because, you know, I think literally everything he touched turned to gold kind of at that point. Like, I think that...
Well, he lied to everybody, if I understand it, made it appear that everything he touched, whatever. And then Donald Trump. And so it's almost like, I don't know if they're taking shots at him, or maybe it's kind of commenting on how he once was rich and now he's poor and he's living in the man's shelter.
Because I think he had...
Oh, that's what that line means. Yeah, that's clever. So it's like almost Donald Trump in his past in the way he was, and Donald Trump because he's now where he is, living in the man's shelter, Wonder Bread, bag shoes, and singing Helter Skelter. So he's into the Beatles.
Another Beatles song.
He asks for $1, you know what it's for. Man, bottle after bottle, he always needs more. He's no less important than you working stiffs, drinks a lot of liquor, but he don't drink piss. I don't know, it's just got this like almost empathy towards this guy where it's almost like instead of judging him, you know, just give him the $1, let him drink his beer. And I just kind of like the goofy airy feel where like they get into this more storytelling vibe. You almost feel like you almost want to give him $1 for a beer just to hear some stories about his like rockabilly days and whatnot.
Yeah.
sonically, I appreciate how well made this is. It's not really my favorite in terms of listenability. I think it's a great song. I'm giving it a 4.25 because this is where that objective and subjective, they just didn't meet 100% here. Anyway, I really do like the next track a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Eggman. They like to throw eggs at people. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
This is almost like a song that is an homage to that. There's this anecdote where they're staying on the Mondrian Hotel on the 9th floor, and they just fucking, some guy pulls up in a fancy car. He gets out of the car, they just chuck an egg at him, hits him in the back of the head. He just looks around, gets back into the car, drives off. And it's like, man, the 80s are a different time, right? Like,
it's just so innocent, though.
Like,
Like, come on.
all I know is there's been no time in my life where I could go around anywhere and throw eggs at people and get away with it living in Montreal, Quebec.
You could on, like, Halloween or something.
No, for real. Like, I just don't see that happening. Like, there's cops and stuff all over because there's kids
like,
all
what
over.
is the crime? Don't, just being, like, a little shit? Like, like, that's all it is. I mean, like, I guess it's
Being
like
a big
vandalism
shit.
or something, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I could see how nowadays, if I threw
I'm sure there's like a
if
a
I threw
law.
eggs at people nowadays, I could see how it would go as assault.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
I
just
guess.
saying.
It just feels so
Nowadays.
innocent. I mean, I guess who it's hitting or whatever is the thing, but like these guys are just being like,
Kids.
they're just being kids.
They
They're
were
just
young.
having fun and like, who cares? Just live it up. And I feel like like that's like pretty innocent of them to be doing that. That's all. Like I feel like I just keep saying that they're innocent, but I feel like that's just what it is.
Yeah, no. But really, I like this beat. It's such an amazing beat. It's funky. It's kind of got the spacey feel to it. That bass line is infectious. With the
Like that.
doom, doom. Yeah, all of it is really, really like. There's just something really cool to the way it all like comes together. All these different sounds. So when it's going that wah with the wah, it's got the theme of Psycho with that singular violin sharp note, and underneath that has the Jaws. Da-na, da-na.
Oh.
And so it's basically two iconically scary things being put
I don't
together.
think I caught that.
I wouldn't have caught that if it wasn't for that like sample video I watched. But when you're like listening to it, you're thinking about it. It's got the shrill,
it's just
constant like note of the Psycho, and then
It's just crazy. Like you don't even realize how good these guys are because you don't even realize like.
And then like it just adds to it, and it's funny, right? Because the horror, scary thing is the Beastie Boys throwing eggs at people.
Yeah.
It's basically really, really funny to me. But what did you think about this track?
I don't know. I mean, like right away, it made me think of the Beatles song "I'm the Walrus" because they talk about the Eggman. They obviously we've already seen them touch on the Beatles, and so they're definitely an influence for them. Which I mean, I think they're an influence for a lot of people, so that's fine. And there's like a lot of like egg references and like egg like play on words sort of things. Like it's really cute. Like the family, punk rocks the businessman. I'll dog everybody with the egg in my hand. It's not like the crack that you put in the pipe, but crack on your forehead. Here's a towel, now wipe. I thought those were like just great lines. Like it's so well done. And it really is. It's like, they're really not doing a bad thing, basically what they're saying. It's, it's not like they're, sitting around and, dealing or doing crack or doing drugs. Like they're just out there having like, they're just being rascals. Like they're just, you can just wipe it off and then it's done. And, you can move on with your life unless you get it in your hair. But hey, it's also very good for your hair. So, just enjoy that treatment. And so I mean it's just fun. It's kind of cool, but like kind of weird and kind of goofy. And it's not necessarily like my favorite, but it's very well mixed. And it's just them being goofy. I gave it a 4.25 on 5.
So I find it really funny when he goes, suckers, they come a dime a dozen, and then they cut in with the, when I say dozen, you know what I'm talking about, boy.
Dozen eggs.
And then it just takes that and reinterprets the meaning to be eggs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the egg man, driving around King of Town. Always got my windows rolled down, ready to throw. You know, I'm the egg man. And I'm just like, this is really, it's so serious. Like, it's such a serious track.
Yep.
It's fucking hilarious. And just because you know, if they say you're supposed to rap about the reality of your life and what you're really doing, this is basically the Beastie Boys, as I understand it. A bunch of tomfoolery-loving guys that throw eggs at people.
Yeah.
At this era of their life.
Like, that's the worst thing that they're doing.
They really stick to the theme. Like, Humpty Dumpty was a big fat egg.
Yep.
And you're like, I guess, eh? That is kind of what he is.
Yep.
He was playing the wall and he broke his leg. Tossed it out the window, 3 minutes hot, hit the Rasta man, he said, blood clot. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I egged the chicken, then I ate his leg. I'm like, I don't know if this is the most profound track I've ever heard. But as far as like that silly, goofy shit goes, it's pretty fucking unforgettable.
Yep.
My name's Yak and I'm throwing the yoke. Now they got me in a cell, but I don't care. It was then that I got caught catching people out there. And so just even if you get sent into jail, he's throwing eggs at people.
That's right.
And I'm like, man, I don't know how to, like, it's like the first time you hear this, you're like, there's got to be like a deeper, more profound meaning or something. No, it's just what it is. Come Halloween, you know I come strapped, I throw it at a sucker, kapap. It's just that. And that's it. Anyway, it's a great track.
It's fun.
I used
to hang out with guys like who would do shit like this, and so I would kind of, enjoy the kind of rascal type behavior that they would do, and it's just fun. So why not?
She grew up in the country. We couldn't do that in the city. I gave this a 5 on 5. I thought it was truly a great song. I really, really enjoyed it. But really, I have to say that more so than their goofy lyrics, it really is the combination of distinct sounds and crazy transitions in the instrumental that make this an alive and dynamically amazing experience. Good job, Dust Brothers and Beastie Boys.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You give your grade?
Yeah.
Cool. Why don't we talk about the high plains drifter?
Yep.
All right. So this is definitely another story-driven track that we have going on over here. Mm-hmm. And it also, guess what? Samples a bunch of shit.
A bunch of shit.
But what do you feel about this track?
This one starts off with a gun cocking, so right away you know I'm there. Throw in some gun sounds, and I'm hooked. For anybody that's been around for a long time, if you know, you know. He's up to no good, and he's just traveling around, stirring up shit. And then there's sort of like interesting like sex noises, like sort of like mixed into like the verses, like in the background. So it's kind of interesting. So it's fun, and they basically just sound like a goofy bunch of guys, just messing around. And they definitely, I was like, these guys sound so white, like they so whiter than me. They definitely sound very white. It's just fun, and it's just like a different sound, period. So I like the last line in the song because it samples a Ramones song, and I like the Ramones, and they're always fun. So I think that that's interesting that they're sort of like pulling on the Ramones, because the Ramones were kind of like goofy guys, although a little bit more involved with drugs, or like harder drugs. But I don't necessarily know that the Beastie Boys weren't, but I feel like
I'm pretty sure I saw that they were, and I
thought that they were just like weed smokers.
Like they just smoked a bunch of pot, is what I understood. And
yeah,
drank
whereas
a lot.
the Ramones were a little bit needles and stuff, but they had kind of goofy songs too, and they were punk and whatever, and like that's kind of. You can see how they were inspired a little bit by them as well. So I like that they were kind of featured. So overall, I feel like I got like lost trying to like listen and like focus on like the story of the song, just because like there's so many samples and like their flow, like just the way that they play it, like you don't necessarily need to hear the story to just enjoy what they do.
Which I feel like is honestly, I focus less on the lyrics listening to this album than most albums, because the production is definitely the standout star.
And I think that that's a good thing.
And I don't mean to take away from the Beasties here, because the way they rap over that production, like what they're doing is rapping on stuff that most rappers I know today in person, not all, but most, would say you can't rap on that. And the Beasties proved them wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes you want to listen to it more, just so you can catch every little thing. And I think that that's, it's great, because it kind of gives you that, it's not something that you're necessarily going to get bored of, if you go back to it again and again and again, just to see, because you're always going to find something new. It's like, a great film or something, a painting or, a picture or whatever, that it's always something that's going to be new to you. And I think that that's great. So I give this one a 4.4 on 5.
There's this comment on Genius where the person who put the description said, this caper song is packed with mad references, mostly to old films. Fair. It's kind of like a white geek version of Gimme the Loot. And I thought that was fucking hilarious, and I wanted to share that with y'all, because I suppose that's kind of what's going on over here. It's got this High Plains drifter, they can't catch me, they're never gonna find me. And I have to just give... I love this chorus, the way it's delivered, because on the one hand you have almost one ear, because I'm a high, and two of them are like bouncing off of the other each other.
Yep.
And then on the other side it's like, because I'm a High Plains drifter and I'm the drifter, and he's just kind of like rapping it out, and so it has that like panning effect, making it like a really standout but almost layered chorus that's both obnoxious and nice at the same time. I really like it. Pulled over to the river to take a rest, pulled out a pair of pliers, pulled a bullet out my chest. I don't know what that's a reference to, but I kind of like it right away. Like, it just kind of has this imagery, and I do enjoy their like more story-esque feel. Like, I think it's cooler than their vapid braggadociousness. Fear and Loathing Across the Country, listening to my 8-track, I feel like that might be a reference to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I don't actually know when that came out, but
well, I think it's still in reference to
I think
that.
the book at least had been out. I reached behind the seat.
No, it was definitely after that, because it was Johnny Depp, and he was
but like at least the book had been out at that point. Listening to my 8-track, I reached behind the seat and snatched a cool from the pack. I'm a long distance from my girl, and I'm talking on my cellular. Whew. That's so gangster, eh? Back in the day in 89.
89, that's what I thought too.
Like a cell phone.
That's gonna be like one of those big gray block ones.
And you had to be rich and real something. Whereas, I got a cell phone. Anyway.
Okay, there.
I got some.
We all have cell phones.
I'm fancy. I have a cellular too. And then she said she was sorry. I'm like, yeah, the hell you were. Check out the rear view mirror. Check the gold tooth display. Check the odometer. I was on my way. It just sounds like a douchey old criminal ass guy, but like, it's done in honestly like an 80s comedy kind of way is how it comes off. Like, it doesn't feel hard. It feels goofy in a fun way. Like, somehow this still feels fun. And then, I don't know, doing 120, plowing over mailboxes, radar detector to tell me where the cops is, spend another night at the Motel 6. It's $5 extra to get the porno flicks. You see what I'm saying? Like, it sounds like this is... It sounds kind of like what would happen, though. Like, you can see how somebody's on the run from any walk of life, and maybe they spend that extra $5 to bust one out. Because again, the internet's not here. There's no fucking Pornhub. If you wanted to watch porn back then, you had to spend that extra $5.
You had like a subscription to Playboy. Like, that's when it was popping,
But nobody wants the magazine when the flicks are there. It's like still images of women with bush. That's basic.
Yeah, but that's what they wanted.
Anyway, then I can somebody's gonna be like, "Fuck you, women with bush is my favorite."
Hey, yeah, I mean, go for it, however you want. Like,
anybody,
you do you, girl.
Anyway, and then I concoct a black and tan. I'm my brandy snifter. I'm a kleptomaniac Kmart shoplifter. Anyway, I just love how he like paints out this whole thing in the second verse, and then it ends up with stash to cash in a dash, but my gun I did carry. I'm seeing blue and red flashing deep in the night. I got my alibi straight. I pulled over to the right. So, oh shit, he's getting pulled over. It's escalating. The cop knocked on my window, said, "Boy, where's the fire? You got a mailbox on your bumper and a bald front tire." Out of the car, long hair, your goose is cooked. Read me my rights and my fingerprinting booked. And then he gets caught, and then, it's not a good situation when you're a highway drifter. And it's almost like he's such a goofy, like, just the car is all fucked up. You can picture the movies that they watched that, like, led them to, like, Smokey and the Bandit and crap like that.
Good old movies.
Making like DT driving a Grand Fury whenever I hang my hats my home and my past is kind of blurry. So it just seems like this mentality of a vagabond is really being conveyed here. Every dog has his day, mine be in front of the jury. High plane drifter, I'm never in a hurry. Then, he reads him his rights, didn't notice. It's like, yeah, this happens all the time, dog. I get harassed by cops. Like, it's just the matter of fact, like, it's got a humor to it I really enjoy. Threw me in the tank with a drunk called Otis. That's only because it rhymed with this. There's no other reason for that drunk to be called Otis. Unless that's like a fucking reference and I'm just an asshole.
Could be somebody, somebody.
It's actually, according to Genius, Otis is the lovable town drunk of the Andy Griffith Show. Of course, it fucking is a thing. Look at that. The Beastie Boys are clever. With his 5 o'clock shadow, he smelled a 3-day-old beer. My man turned to me and said, "Why are you here?" I said, "I'm charming. I'm dashing. I'm rental car bashing. I'm phony paper passing." And I'm just like, this is amazing. This is a fun song. And then it just kind of ends with that, like, Susie is a headbanger, and then just fucking, you're just like, what just happened? This whole story, and then he just ends up in jail, and then, got his way out, and then steals a car, and he's off again to go be another highway drifter, and it just feels, like, kind of fun and airy, and I like it. I like it a lot. I give it a 4.5 on 5. I'm truly happy I listened to it. You're right about the beat. It has a lot going on, but I think it makes a memorable and incredible experience.
Yep.
And then it transitions to one where you can definitely describe as a memorable, incredible experience. In my little opinion, we're going to talk about the sounds of silence.
It's not silence, though. It's science.
Oh, I wrote silence.
Ding
I know
dong.
it's science. That's my
It's the
bad.
sounds of science.
It's just every time I read the title that happened, you're like, what? What is going on? Like, just, doom, 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 doom. Kind of like your head starts going back and forth. You're nodding away. You're like, this is unlike everything on the album. And I think at this point you realize everything on this album is unlike everything on this album.
Yep.
It's so all over the place. And that's magically cool because there's a couple of songs that stylistically you're like, okay, I don't like that one as much as that one. You're still left with like, you look at the list of samples, it's still got like 10 fucking things it's referencing, all sorts of Beatles crap here and a few other things. Beatles and fucking Boogie Down Productions. Like,
perfect mix.
Anyway, so like, it's just all over. And then this song is kind of like a two-parter. It starts off with goofy, like, Bill Nye the Science Guy. You picture guys with beakers and shit. Like, I pictured beakers.
Okay.
And like,
when you say beaker, I just hear...
No, I picture like science beakers.
I know.
And then the droppings.
That's who I think of.
So now here we go, dropping science, dropping it all over. And they have this like kind of swingy, goofy, slower flow to it. And my favorite is when he's like, expanding the horizon and expanding the parameters. It's like the lazy way that MCA drops that. Or no, expanding the rhymes to suck at MC amateurs. That's the line that MCA drops. And it's the way he does it with this nonchalant, like, this is too easy and we're all bored. And I love that like airy flow they drop here. It's truly like, it's truly memorable. And like, considering you're so used to the like nasally this was just fun to like get something completely like different out of that same kind of like just the way this, I don't know, slowed down. It's almost like it got deeper a little in terms of it. I don't know. Noggles, Isaac Newton, a scientific easy, Ben Franklin with the kite, getting over the key. I'm like, okay, now you're just saying science shit. But like what they're trying to convey is that the music they're using employs the sounds of science, which is all of this mixing technology and everything into their voice. So what they're delivering to you is quite literally the sounds of science. And I like when they go, because I'd be dropping the news silence and I'd be kicking the knowledge. An MC to a degree that you can't get in college. And I love that because he's like, check it. Being an MC is not just something you go to school and learn. It's like we kicking it. We got the knowledge. But this is something that you don't just get out there. Like, you have to get it in a different kind of way almost. So you're like born with it is usually, I guess, the implication. But usually you learn it and you study it and you attain the math skills.
Right.
Anyway, what do you think about that?
I mean, right away, like I've grown up listening to the Beatles my entire life. I can probably, recite, most of their songs, and, could probably, I've seen their movies numerous times, so much that I can probably tell you exactly what's happening and then say what the guys are saying. So right away I picked up the beat was from When I'm 64, which was their song, the doom. Well, not that one, but the one that's underneath it. If you know it, you know it.
There was Back in the USSR. When
That's
I'm 64.
later on. Yeah, so right at the beginning, it's When I'm 64, which is a fun song. Go listen to it. Why not? If you don't know it, or if you do, go listen to it again. So they're rapping basically about science-related facts and people and things like that. But it sort of sounds like they're always sort of making fun of things. But I don't think that they are. It's just the way that they speak.
But I think that what this is they're dissing other. This is one of those we're the best hip hop songs. Mm-hmm. Only they're going in this completely different direction with it.
Yeah.
Because what they are dissing is whack MCs who don't understand the sounds of science.
Yeah. And then, in the second verse,
well, before it, there's the transition where it just builds up, and he's like, "Robot dope," and then it's just fucking funny, right up to your face and diss you, waxing the milk and all y'all square heads, it just sounds like a challenge, like they're ready to fucking fight, and then the beat flips up.
Yep. And then the beat, it definitely, it sounds totally different. It's faster. And then another one, it's Back in the USSR is mixed in at that point. Another great Beatles song. Go listen to it. If you don't know it, or if you do, like I said. I really like the way that they play with the mixing. It kind of leaves this fun feeling in you, and I like that. I don't know, and honestly I have no idea what this song is really about, but it's just fun to listen to, in my opinion. So I give this a 4.6 on 5, and I definitely like this one a whole bunch because I appreciate all of the Beatles samples, which is probably a big part of why white people like them.
Anyway, I think it was just goofy, again, in terms of the rhymes, time and money for girls covered with honey, you lie and aspire to be as cunning. Well, actually, that's pretty clever. They're just talking about gold diggers and, liars and shit. Reeling and rocking, rolling B-size D cups. That's funny, because they stuff bras and shit.
Yep.
Order of the quarter deluxe. Why don't you wake up? My mind is kind of flowing like an oil projector. Had to get up and get the Jimmy protector. It's very good to use condoms. Went berserk and worked
the
and
AIDS
exploded.
era.
She woke up in the morning and her face was coated. What he's trying to say right there is he fucked her and nutted on her face.
Ew.
No, it's fine. It's a good place to
whatever you gotta do.
Buddy, you studied a man on the mic. D, do what you like. Drunk as a skunk, and am I from celebration to peep that freak unique penetration? Anyway, it's just fun, and then the verse kind of ends with, and no one really knows what I'm talking about, and yeah, that's right, my name's Yout, and then it just scratches, and I realized in that moment, I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about or why he said that, but you can't forget his name in that moment.
Yep.
So, they like to fuck, and the music comes off, but I also like when I smell weak because y'all keep popping and people ask me what's the phenomenon, and it's you just feel as much as these are some goofy ass white dudes, they really are not intimidated by hip hop. They're in a position to come rhyme and do what they got to do, is what it feels. And then third verse is fine. I like when he goes, rock my Adidas, never rock Fila's. And I understand that at the time there might be a reason for that. But if you click on the Genius annotation, there's just a bunch of pictures of them rocking Fila. So it's fine. But that was later on.
Yep.
And then there it cuts in with that great sample. I do not sniff the coke, I only smoke the Sinsemilla, which is from the Pato Banton song Don't Sniff Coke. And I really like it because it changes the tempo and everything, but it also kind of fits, and then just kicks one ring. And then well with my nose, I nose, and with my scope, I scopes. And what I live, I write, and that's strictly rope. And it just kind of cuts back in. So I like the fact that, you know, they're promoting a message of, you know, smoke that herb. Don't go out there and sniff that coke. And then with your nose, you should know shit and sniff out like truth or whatever. So then live out what you write. And then I don't know, I got science for any occasion. And I'm like, you know what? On the album where you have the highway drifter crime story, you're throwing eggs at people, you're dropping this track, you have upcoming 5 chicken finger discount, whatever. Like, there's everything on this project. It's fucking diverse in a way that not many are this diverse to me. Anyway, it's cool. It's cool. It's a great track. I'm giving this one a 4.5 on 5. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It would definitely go down as one of the more creative things I've heard since we started this channel in terms of out there-ness. No? I don't know. You don't have to agree.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, let's check out the 3-minute rule.
This is a very rap song. And I mean, like in that, like, I would say this would be maybe the only song on the project that really feels in the more what I would call conventional sounds of hip hop we've all come. It's got the 3-verse structure. Each guy does his own verse. The beat isn't necessarily as saturated with like next level out there-ness. Like, it really just samples that Brave and Strong, I think, by Sly and the Family Stone, and Feel Good by Fancy from the album Wild Things. And apparently it samples a live ping pong game. There was actually a ping pong table over the recording studio. We actually did overdub playing ping pong. We put 2 mics, and I think it was me and Easy. This is Adam Yock. Easy Mike Simpson, if I'm not mistaken, just kind of volleying back and forth with the ball, trying to keep it to the beat, but I don't think we did stay on the beat very well. So literally, there's a fucking ping pong ball in this beat.
I heard it. It's right at the very beginning. I love that kind of stuff. It's so that's part of like what makes them so unique, is that, you know, like, do something different. Play ping pong on your damn like song, you know, like, I mean, why not?
But like, relatively speaking, it's got a lot less samples, but like, that also goes, that's fucking interesting,
and
right?
And again, like, innocent, like, just fun guys who just want to like play, have fun, like, they're just, it's so great.
Anyway, each of these guys does their own verse. We have Mike D. He starts off with, I stay up all night, I go to sleep watching Dragnet, never sleep alone because Jimmy is the magnet. I'm so rope, they call me Mr. Roper. When the troubles arrive, you know I'm the cool coper. And it's fine. It sounds like basically he's a rapper, he gets to get ladies, and that seems to be the whole point of his thing. I do like when he goes, dude, wah, diddy, and bust in with the pre-roll. And I'm like, no shit. He pre-rolls his stuff like an intelligent guy. Because you know what's always baffled me is when there's like 8 or 9 dudes outside a bar with weed, all in baggies, and not a single person has a paper. But everybody, ounce amongst everybody, no paper. Show up with a pre-roll. It's just simple. Anyway, Customs jailed me over an herb seed. And that's another interesting point that he brings up, because like, it kind of shows a little bit of how ludicrous the weed laws are. Like, the fact that you have a little seed, literally, that seed could have fallen on you on the subway on the way to the plane. And then they found it on you. And then, oh shit, you got a weed seed. And now you're going to jail, kind of thing. Like, in theory, that it's preposterous. I'm not sure that actually happens, but like, it could happen. Anyway,
I guess.
Don't rat on your boy over some rat weed. I'm out of your back door, I'm into another. Your boyfriend doesn't know about me and your mother. Not perfect grammar, always perfect timing. The mic stands for money and the D is for diamonds. And I just thought it was fun. You know, like, you get a good sense of who he is. It's braggadocious. He likes girls, weed, and rapping. And that's what he's about. The MCA just fucking goes in on everybody. You know, roses are red, the sky is blue. I got the barrel at your neck, so what the fuck you gonna do? And I'm like, oh, he swore. I don't think there's been a lot of swearing on this album. But yo, he came in, you know? It's just 2 wheels and me, the wind in my eyes, the engines, my music, my 9s by my side. I'm like, damn, he's going hard. Like, relatively speaking, this is the hardest shit we've gotten on this project. Because you know the why. Because you know Y-A-U-C-H. And I love that line because the way he, like, punches on the Y makes it, because you know why, like the question, and then he spells out his name, changing the meaning to because you know me.
Yep.
I'm talking all MCs out of place, etc. Anyway, he rhymes on through, kind of kills it. He brings up Bob Dylan, but he doesn't. He smokes weed too, by the way. He also says I might be a little dusted, but I'm not insane. And I'm wondering if that's a reference to the Dust Brothers or if he did some PCP with his marijuana back in the day.
I feel like it has something to do with the Dust Brothers.
But people come up to me and they try to talk shit. Man, I was making records when you were sucking your mother's dick.
Whoa.
And I suppose if you're in the Beastie Boys at this point, you have been making music for a significantly lengthy period of time. So to have some punk kids coming up to you and talking shit, I guess it might put you in a mood.
Yep.
And then I love Ad-Rock's flow when he starts this verse. Like, girl, you're walking tall in your fancy clothes. You got fancy things that are going up your nose, and your fancy gifts from expensive men. You're a dog on a leash like a pig in a pen. And I'm like, oof, that's hot. It is. But he's basically like, okay.
I also wrote down those lyrics, so I think that's kind of funny.
But it's because, like, he's basically saying the coke snorting, flashy gold digger types that we get all, basically the pay to play types. And maybe it's gifts, maybe it's cash, but if basically to get up your ass, all I gotta do is buy you some shit, you're in that category in this kind of conversation. And he's pointing out that, yeah, you might have this fancy life, but you're really just a dog on a leash, which is such a clever way of getting around a certain word that you might have otherwise wanted to call her.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought it was fun how, like, he kind of attacks this kind of culture of it and then flips it, because I'm running things like a Mac motherfucker. You slip and you slacking because you a false fake sucker. You slip, you slack, you clock me and you lack while I'm reading On the Road by my man Jack Kerouac. Poetry in motion. I fucking love that because it's like he kind of flips it down. It's like he's talking shit against other MCs or whatnot, or fake people, and how he's completely legitimate. And you can do what you want. You can fuck around. But at the end of the day, I'm getting my knowledge on reading like enhanced shit like On the Road, which basically is the result of speed and alcohol. He just got really fucking high and went out there with Neil Cassidy, and they had their adventures of whatnot, and then he wrote that book. Well, he's fucked up. So moral of the story
add
is
that to my
people
TBR.
who do a lot of speed and alcohol back in the days were like completely praised, and then speed got vilified, and now everybody hates speed. But like, man, back in the day, they was doing speed left, right, and center. I had no idea how much speed was in fucking music, and I'm like, no shit. It explained a lot. Anyway, but then that's why I like the poetry in motion line, because that's kind of what On the Road's about. It's literally poetry kind of composed in motion as they were traveling on the road throughout the United States on their adventure where they did their things. But then you got, so Peace Out Y'all, a PCP song out. And so I'm wondering if that, again, is the drug, if they got kind of dusted, felt a little kind of aggressive, came in and spit this shit. Like, I don't really know. But full throttle to the bottle and full clout, and I'm out. Like, this sounds like he's going to box you in the face. Because, we learned that clout is a hit. Anyway, I really enjoyed this track. I thought it was fun to listen to. But, like, I feel like compared to the complexity of the rest of the album, it's a little duller.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like a palate cleansing break, and you kind of wanted that dullness because they put it nice right in the middle as you moved on to other stuff. So I like it. I'm giving it a 4.35. I think it's great on the album. I would never skip it. There's nothing I would skip on this project.
Yeah.
I would listen to it through, but like if I were to go cherry pick, I might be going to something a little bit more like Eggman just to throw on than, let's say, 3-Minute Rule.
Okay. Yeah, I like how this one kind of, like I said, starts off with like the ping pong playing. It's great. It's a little bit slower, this one, and this is, each of them having like a verse, and like they're just kind of like talking about like themselves and how they're so great and like all of that kind of stuff. I like, I touched on the same sort of thing, in the third verse about the same lyrics. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, this one is less about like the sick mixing, although there still is some, and more just about like their flows and just the fact because of like that's like what is standing out on this one, is more predominant, which kind of makes it like a nice change. Like this is just them spitting and it's a little bit cleaner in terms of like the mixing and that. So I mean that's just what I mean. So I give this a 4.3 on 5. Another good one. Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if this is the same length as part 2 will be, but this is about halfway through the project. There's kind of like 6 more tracks plus a couple skits for part 2, but one of those tracks is giant, so whatever. It'll probably work out to be somewhere around this length.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're gonna cut it now. We do appreciate you being here with us throughout this first half of our journey to Paul's Boutique. Let us know what you think in the comments. I look forward to reading your essays, DJ Black Hurricane. Anything else y'all want to say, I'll be happy to talk to y'all down there. Feel free to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Feel free to check out that License to Ill review. And yeah, special thanks to the patrons. There's Milka Dempsey, Chris Pratt, Jonathan Barnes, CJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do. Helped us get a new camera. Helped us get on Spotify, everything else. They also, they get to tell us what albums to review. Like DJ Black Hurricane saying review Paul's Boutique. And so here we are. We're doing that.
Yeah.
So if you want to help us get to the next level, that would be much appreciated. And we really have some expensive dreams this year that we would like to pull off. So it would be dope. And you can also check out my music. I make albums myself. They're all on Spotify and whatnot. I dropped a project in October called The Alternative Grind by myself, Holden, Stephan, Roy. It's also got stuff on this channel. You can check that out. Let me know what you think. Anyway, live long and prosper, everybody.
Bye, guys.